What happens when the guy who signs the paycheck shows up in a delivery uniform and nobody knows it's him? Arthur Ames had owned the chain for 8 years. 15 fast casual food locations spread across 3 cities, sandwiches, wraps, and salads, all made fast, fresh, and delivered hot. He bought it from the original founder after noticing the brand had potential. Under his leadership, they'd grown steady, but something had started to feel off. He sat at his desk, reading a string of recent customer complaints. Deliveries arriving cold, wrong orders, refunds being denied. The reports were vague, the district manager's explanations even worse, probably just a bad week.
Arthur didn't buy it.
He'd visited most locations in those early years, but lately, he'd been too far removed. Most of the staff had turned over. Some managers were new hires. He didn't know them and they didn't know him. Corporate structure helped him stay anonymous. All interactions were filtered through upper management.
His name wasn't in the lobby.
No framed photo. No meet the owner. So he decided to go in blind. He picked Store 11 on paper, one of the better performing locations. But the numbers were starting to look odd. Higher delivery refunds, increasing food waste, and a weird spike in miscellaneous expenses that no one could explain. He got himself a full delivery uniform hat, name tag, even a fake ID badge with the name Matt. Clean shave, glasses, changed his hair. He looked like any other new hire. And no one at Store 11 had met him in person. He walked in on a Tuesday morning. "Hey, you must be Matt, right?" said a young woman behind the prep counter, tying her apron.
"I'm Piper."
"First day?" "Yeah," Arthur nodded. "Supposed to start deliveries today." Piper looked him up and down, then smiled. "You'll be fine. Just stay out of Travis's way." "Who's Travis?" he asked. She tilted her head toward the office. "Store manager. Comes in around 10.
He's
particular." Arthur took note. By 10, the place started buzzing. Orders stacked up, drivers came and went. Arthur shadowed another driver for a bit, then was thrown into the mix. He delivered lunch to a law firm, a gym, a dental office. Most customers were polite, but a few weren't happy. "Second time this week the order's wrong," one receptionist said, holding up a bag. "Tell your manager." When Arthur got back, he was about to relay the complaint when Travis finally walked in. Tall guy, mid-30s, cocky grin. He didn't say hello, just clapped his hands. "All right, folks, let's move.
Keep it tight today."
"Matt, right?" he said, glancing at Arthur. "You're the new guy?" "Yeah." "You mess up a delivery, you pay for it. That's the rule." "Got it." Arthur raised an eyebrow. "I thought mistakes were logged and handled through the system." Travis laughed. "Sure, if we want corporate crawling up our backs. Trust me, kid. Just don't mess up." Arthur didn't argue, but he started watching. Over the next few days, he noticed Piper quietly double-checking orders while Travis hung around the back. The kitchen crew, 2 teens named Luis and Daniel, worked hard, but they looked tired. Arthur asked Piper during a quick break, "You guys short-staffed? 2 people quit last week." Travis told the district manager we're fine. Said we don't need the hours. So, we're kinda stuck. Arthur frowned. Why wouldn't he want more help? She shrugged. Guess he wants the overtime pay for himself. He logs himself in for closing shifts, but I've never seen him stay past 5. Luis usually locks up. Arthur's stomach turned. The next day, he offered to close with Luis. They finished up around 10. As they cleaned, Arthur noticed the daily logbook open on the desk. Travis's name was signed in for the full shift, even though he had left before 4. Luis caught him looking. He does that a lot. Says he's on call. We don't ask questions. Arthur snapped a photo of the page when no one was watching. The next morning, the real shock came. Arthur was doing a routine lunch delivery to a downtown office. The receptionist, a woman named Claire, looked confused when he arrived. "This order again," she said. "We canceled this." It was wrong yesterday, and the guy said we'd get a refund. Arthur called the store. Travis answered. Yeah. Hey, this customer says they canceled. Just drop it off and go. I already handled it. Arthur hung up but stayed. Claire, what happened yesterday? She pointed at a form. We asked for no onions. They had onions. The guy who dropped it off said he'd make sure we got a refund. Arthur looked at the receipt. Still full charge. No refund listed. He returned to the store and waited until Travis left early again. Then he checked the POS system with Piper, who hesitated at first. He'll kill me if he finds out, she whispered. I'll take the heat, Arthur said. They pulled the order history. Not only had the refund not been processed, but the expense log had a separate entry, customer compensation $37, listed under miscellaneous. Arthur scrolled back. There were dozens of similar entries. He didn't say a word, just quietly took photos of everything. That night, Arthur sat in his car, parked across from the store, staring at the numbers. He felt sick. He'd built this company up from nothing. Now one of his own was stealing from it and making his people suffer for it. He knew the reveal was coming soon. But first, he wanted to see how far it really went. Arthur showed up early the next morning, long before the store lights flicked on. He stayed in his car across the street, watching in the dark as Luis arrived alone, unlocking the side door with a key he shouldn't have had. The kid looked exhausted, dragging his feet, hoodie up, backpack slung low. No one else showed for another half hour. Arthur waited until they opened, then walked in with his cap pulled low. Luis looked up from the prep sink, startled. You're here early. Figured I'd lend a hand, Arthur said, slipping on gloves. You're always the first one in? Luis nodded without looking up. Most days. How long you been working here? Since last summer. I was just supposed to be seasonal, but they asked me to stay. Arthur glanced at the clock. You still in school?
Ido nights online.
My mom works mornings. Someone's got to take care of my little brother until she gets back. So I work early, then study at night. It's fine. There was no complaint in his voice, just quiet resignation. Piper arrived not long after, tying her apron with one hand while sipping coffee with the other. She looked at Luis, then Arthur. Did you guys restock last night? Didn't finish. We ran out of room in the fridge, Luis said. Arthur walked to the back to check. The walk-in was overpacked. Produce stacked too high, boxes of proteins pushed against the walls. The dry goods shelf had 3 open bags of croutons, 2 half-empty dressing containers with no dates marked. Everything was crammed together. He spotted a case of chicken that had been thawed but never cooked. Health violation waiting to happen. He stepped out just as Travis arrived, phone in one hand, laughing at something. Morning, team, Travis said, breezing past the counter. Let's keep it tight today. I got a vendor meeting later, so I'm heading out after lunch. Arthur followed him to the back. We need to toss some of the thawed chicken, Arthur said. It's been sitting too long. Travis didn't look up from his phone. Nah, it's fine. Cook it off. Serve it today. It's been out for almost 2 days. Travis finally looked up. Matt, right? You're not food safety. If it smells fine, it's fine. Arthur stared at him. You willing to eat it? Travis grinned. I don't eat here. Arthur didn't respond. He left the chicken in the sink, untouched. Lunch rush hit hard. Orders stacked fast, and with only 2 line workers and Piper on assembly, tension rose. Arthur ran deliveries, but every time he returned, the kitchen was more chaotic. At one point, Daniel dropped a tray of wraps. Travis walked past the mess without stopping. You break it, you clean it, he said without looking back. Later, while bagging an order, Arthur noticed Piper rubbing her wrist. You okay? Just tense, she said. Been doing doubles all week. I asked for a day off, but Travis said we're understaffed. You get paid overtime? She hesitated. He said we're not supposed to go over 40 hours. If we do, we can trade shifts next week. It's complicated. Arthur didn't push. He already knew what that meant. He'd seen it before at other companies' managers pressuring workers to adjust their hours to avoid triggering overtime regulations. At 3, Travis announced he was leaving. "Matt, you're closing tonight," he said, tossing Arthur a clipboard. "Luis'll show you how to lock up. Make sure the numbers match. I'm not taking heat for another short register." Arthur didn't answer. He just watched him leave without clocking out. As the door swung shut, Daniel muttered under his breath, "Wish I could get paid for doing nothing." Luis looked up. "Don't say that too loud." Arthur waited until the lunch wave ended before pulling Piper aside near the back sink. "We need to talk," he said quietly. "Off the record." She looked at him warily. "Travis has been falsifying hours and expenses," he said. "I've seen the logs. I've seen how often you all stay late, come in early, pick up the slack." Her eyes narrowed. "How do you know all that?" Arthur looked her in the eye. "Because I'm not Matt." She blinked. "What?" "My name's Arthur Ames. I own the company." Piper stepped back like she'd been slapped. "You're the—"
Yeah.
"I went undercover because I couldn't get straight answers. I needed to see it myself." She crossed her arms. "You've been watching us this whole time? I've been working. With you.
Seeing what you deal with.
And I'm not done yet." She stared at him for a long moment. Then her shoulders dropped. "So what now?" "Tonight, we finish the day. Business as usual. Tomorrow morning, I want you, Luis, and Daniel here at opening. Don't tell Travis. Don't tell anyone. Just show up." She nodded slowly. "Okay." That night, after the doors locked, Arthur sat with Luis in the back office, walking through the closing checklist. Luis fumbled with the register log. "You ever get trained for this?" Arthur asked. "Travis said it's easy." Arthur took the sheet. "You've been doing this without training?"
Yeah.
He said he didn't have time. Arthur scanned the numbers. There were gaps. Decimal errors. One line item was missing a cash entry altogether. "This isn't your fault," Arthur said. "You were set up to fail." Luis didn't answer, just stared at the floor. The next morning, Arthur arrived before sunrise and waited in his car. One by one, the 3 arrived, all looking unsure. He unlocked the door and led them to the back, where he laid out the documents, photos of the logbooks, screenshots of the POS system, time card discrepancies, and inventory receipts that didn't match. Piper picked up one sheet. "He's been logging cash refunds that never happened?" Arthur nodded, and pocketing the difference. Luis leaned forward. "Are we in trouble?" "No," Arthur said. "You're not." Just then, through the front window, Travis pulled into the lot. Arthur stood. "Stay here." He met him at the door. "Store's closed today," Arthur said, blocking the entrance. Travis raised an eyebrow. "What?" Arthur stepped outside and shut the door behind him. "I know everything. The fake refunds. The altered time cards. The inventory waste you tried to hide." Travis crossed his arms. "You don't know what you're talking about." Arthur pulled out his phone, tapped a few times, then held it up. A still image of Travis's signature on a time card, timestamped 2 hours after he'd left the store, filled the screen. Travis's face changed. "You're done," Arthur said. "Effective immediately. Your access is revoked. Security's already changing the locks." "You can't just—" "I can. I own the company." Travis stepped back in stunned silence. Arthur didn't wait for a response. He turned and walked back inside, locking the door behind him. Piper looked up. "He gone?" Arthur nodded. "For good." Luis let out a breath. Daniel leaned against the wall without speaking. Arthur sat down with them at the prep table. "We're going to fix this. But it's going to take time. Staffing, pay, training. I'm not just patching holes. I'm rebuilding the foundation." Piper spoke first. "What about the other stores?" "I'll be visiting them too."
quietly.
And this time, I'm not staying behind a desk. Daniel finally spoke. You sure you want to deal with all this? Arthur looked at him. I built this company once. I can rebuild it again. But not without people like you. They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of everything settling. Outside, the morning sun lit the empty parking lot as the first real day of change began. The following Monday, the store reopened with a skeleton crew: just Piper, Luis, Daniel, and Arthur. No music played. No customers yet. Just the low hum of refrigeration units and the sound of slicing knives behind the prep counter. It was quiet, focused. No shouting. No tension bleeding down from a back office. Arthur had already arranged for an interim manager from another district, someone he trusted, but they wouldn't arrive until Wednesday. Until then, he would act as manager himself. It wasn't ideal, but it was necessary. Luis pulled inventory sheets from under the register. This is from last week. Want me to start fresh? Arthur nodded. Start from zero. Toss whatever's not labeled or dated. If it's borderline, we don't serve it. Piper was already on the phone with a vendor, adjusting the produce order. Daniel stood at the line, reorganizing the cold station. There were no shortcuts today. No rushed orders. No one watching the clock to see how fast they could sneak out the back. Just before opening, Arthur called them together briefly by the sink. We're going to run lean until help arrives, but I'll be here every hour with you.
If you need something, say it. No geshin. No eshumin.
Luis glanced toward the entrance. You think anyone's going to show up today? Customers? They'll come back, Arthur said. But only if we give them a reason. Business started slow. A few walk-ins. A couple of phone orders. Arthur took deliveries himself, returning between runs to help on the line when it got tight. Piper stayed on register and helped assemble whenever she could. Luis worked the grill and prep station without saying much, but his movements were sharp, more confident than Arthur had seen before. Daniel rotated between the fryer and cold prep, constantly checking the ticket screen without being told. By late afternoon, Arthur noticed something he hadn't seen all week. The team was talking. Not complaining, not whispering. Talking. Daniel looked up from the fryer. You ever do this before? Like, actually run a store? Arthur handed him a tray of fresh wraps. I ran 3 stores at once when we first acquired the company. Used to do overnight deliveries and morning prep. Didn't sleep much. Luis raised an eyebrow. Why'd you stop? Arthur peeled off his gloves. Grew too fast. Started trusting numbers more than people. That's on me. No one said anything for a second. Then Piper leaned on the counter. What happens after this week? We get someone new. Temporary manager arrives Wednesday. From a different region. I trust her. She'll help stabilize things. After that, we'll post the permanent role internally. No outside hires unless we absolutely can't fill it. Daniel looked surprised. You're actually going to let someone from here apply? Why wouldn't I? He didn't answer, but Arthur caught the glance he shot Piper. The day wrapped around 8. Arthur locked the front doors while Piper counted the drawer. No register errors. No missing cash. Luis was mopping while Daniel scrubbed the prep station. Quiet music played from a small Bluetooth speaker someone had brought in. The room felt lighter than it had in days. Arthur grabbed his jacket. I'll be back early to help open. Let's keep the same shift rotation tomorrow. We'll have someone from corporate bring lunch around noon. You've earned it. Luis looked up. You don't have to do that. I know. They nodded, and that was it. The next day, the pace picked up. Word must have traveled. 6 customers came in asking specifically for Piper. One woman left a tip in a to-go bag with a note. Thanks for getting it right this time. Piper read it, folded it slowly, and slid it into her apron pocket without a word. Arthur stayed mostly in the back, reviewing vendor invoices. It didn't take long to see just how deep the previous mismanagement had gone. Monthly expenses were padded with overlapping orders, likely returns that had never been processed. He flagged overcharges, duplicate payments, and one invoice for cleaning supplies that had never been delivered. He called corporate accounting. Check all Store 11's vendor receipts for the last 90 days. Cross-match them with delivery confirmations. I want a full report by end of week. Any specific vendor? Start with food service and maintenance. If anything looks off, expand the search. That afternoon, a district-level compliance officer arrived unannounced and began photographing the walk-in, inspecting the back office, and interviewing the team. Arthur didn't warn anyone beforehand. After she left, Daniel pulled Arthur aside. She asked about the old schedule logs. I told her where to find them. You did right. You think he was doing this at the other stores too? I'll find out. On Wednesday morning, a black SUV pulled into the lot just after 7. A woman in her early 40s stepped out, black slacks, navy blouse, short hair tied back. She carried a clipboard and wore no name tag. Arthur met her at the door. Appreciate you coming on short notice. Not a problem, she said. I read the report. I'll run this place like it's my own. Don't go easy on them, but treat them fair. She nodded. Always. Inside, she introduced herself to the team, asked each of them their role, then shadowed the morning prep. When she noticed Luis measuring dressing portions, she raised an eyebrow. You always measure? My mom says waste is just money you threw in the trash. Smart mom. Luis smiled faintly, but didn't stop working. By Friday, orders were coming in steady. Customers lingered longer. One man stopped Arthur near the drink station. Place feels different. Calmer. Food's better, too. Arthur thanked him, then watched him leave, drink in hand. That evening, he gathered the team again, this time in the back office. The new manager leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. Arthur stood in front of them. I'm not here to make speeches. But I want to be clear. What happened here isn't something I'm brushing aside. I've already terminated the regional manager who failed to spot this. We're auditing all 15 locations. We've frozen vendor accounts tied to inflated invoices. This won't happen again. Silence. Then Piper stepped forward. Can we ask something? Arthur nodded. If this hadn't happened, if you didn't come in, what would have changed? He paused. Probably nothing. She stared at him. That's why I'm not leaving it a chance next time. Starting next quarter, I'll spend 1 week every month working in stores. No notice. No fanfare. Just an apron and a name tag. Daniel tilted his head. What about the other execs? They'll be doing it too. We call it Ground Week. Starts next month. Luis looked up from his seat. You think they'll actually do it? They will, or they won't be executives for long. The room stayed quiet for a moment. Arthur looked at all three of them. You held this place together when no one was watching. You fixed mistakes that weren't yours. You showed up even when it wasn't fair. That's not forgotten. He pulled 3 sealed envelopes from his jacket and placed them on the table. You'll each find a bonus inside. You've earned it. Luis didn't move right away. Piper stared at hers, then slid it into her bag without opening it. Daniel tucked his under his arm. Arthur turned to the new manager. Starting Monday, I want you to evaluate them for advancement. Not just to fill a role, but to build a future. She nodded once, serious. As the team filed out, Luis lingered. You think he'll try to come back? He won't. What if he shows up somewhere else, like another company? Arthur looked at him. Then I hope someone like you is there to stop him. Luis gave a small nod and walked out. Arthur remained alone in the back office, the hum of the fridge steady behind him. On the desk, next to the shift log, sat a scrap of paper with a note from Piper. Thanks for seeing it. He folded it once and slid it into his pocket. Then he turned off the light and locked the door behind him. By the second week, the rhythm at Store 11 had settled into something workable, but it was still far from smooth. With a new interim manager, Alina, now fully in charge, Arthur stepped back from the daily operations. He didn't disappear, he watched, took notes, and quietly followed up on things. The energy in the store had changed, but the workload remained heavy. The crew didn't get to relax just because the leadership was better. They still had to do the job. On Thursday morning, as the team prepped before opening, Alina pulled Piper aside. "You've been running point on register, training new hires, scheduling subs, and reviewing end-of-day logs. That's 3 roles." Piper didn't look up from the prep sheet. "And you're not being paid for 3 roles." Piper finally met her eyes. "I wasn't expecting to be." "That's not the point," Alina said. "This isn't about expectations. It's about standards. I'm adjusting your pay rate starting this week. Retroactive to last Monday." Piper didn't say, "Thank you." She just nodded and went back to work. That told Alina everything she needed to know. By Friday, Arthur had moved on to visit Store 6 across town, but he called Alina mid-morning. "Any issues?" "Nothing critical. But I do need to talk to you about Luis." "What's going on?" "He's efficient, detail-oriented, and consistent. But he's starting to shut down when the store gets overwhelmed. Doesn't delegate. Doesn't ask for help." Arthur leaned back in his car seat, parked outside a different location's loading dock. That tracks. He's been carrying too much for too long. Agreed. I want to give him some structured support, not just verbal check-ins. I'm thinking an hour off the floor, twice a week. Paid. No tasks. Just reset time. Arthur didn't hesitate. Do it. That afternoon, Alina called Luis into the office. He stood quiet at the door, unsure why he'd been asked to come in. "I'm not writing you up," she said. "You're not in trouble." Luis didn't move. "Okay. I've watched you this week. You don't just do the work, you guard it. Like, if anything slips, it's all on you." He stayed silent. "I'm adding 2 blocks to your weekly schedule. 1 on Tuesday, 1 on Friday. 45 minutes each. You're not expected to work during those times. You can sit in the back, eat, read, walk. Whatever you need." Luis frowned. "I don't need special treatment." "This isn't special. This is overdue. You've been running on empty for too long." He didn't respond right away. Then he looked down at the floor. "I've just been trying to hold it together." "I know. And you did. That's why this isn't a punishment. It's a correction." He nodded once, then turned to leave, slower than he'd walked in. Alina watched him go, then made a note in her binder. Leadership potential. Needs recovery time. Reevaluate in 30 days. Saturday brought the first real stress test. A large catering order came through for a downtown nonprofit event, 80 box meals, all custom. It was more than the team had handled since the transition. Alina gave them the option to decline it, but Piper stepped up. "We can do it," she said. "We'll need a runner on the floor, someone strictly on labeling, and a second check before each box leaves." Alina raised an eyebrow. "You're building a system." Piper grabbed a clipboard. "I've dealt with worse." They spent the morning prepping. Daniel handled the hot table, Luis managed cold assembly, and Piper triple-checked each label. Alina stayed off the line but coordinated from the office, making sure the driver arrived on time and the delivery crates were loaded properly. When the last box left the store, there was silence for a moment. Then Daniel leaned back against the counter. "We didn't ruin anything," he said. "Nope," Piper said. "Not even close." That night, Arthur returned for an unannounced visit. He arrived just before close, no uniform, no clipboard. Just him and a quiet nod to Alina when she saw him by the drink station. She brought him into the back. "They nailed the catering order," she said.
No eres. No que plans.
"That's not what I'm here to ask about." She raised an eyebrow. "I want a recommendation on team development. Who's ready for more?"
Who isn't?
Alina didn't hesitate. "Piper's ready for assistant manager. She needs formal training, but she already leads." Daniel's not there yet. He's still learning how to think a step ahead. But he's worth investing in. Luis needs time. He's not ready to lead others, but he's someone people will follow if given a reason. Arthur nodded. What do you need from me? Approval for structured development tracks. I'll build the programs myself. Just give me the room to move people forward. Done. She paused, then added, this store's going to be stronger than it ever was. But don't forget why it fell apart in the first place. I haven't. Before he left, Arthur quietly pulled Piper aside near the back door. I'm not going to be around much after this week. I'll be checking in, but from a distance. She nodded. Understood. He handed her a sealed envelope. This isn't a bonus. It's a formal offer. Assistant manager, full benefits, training stipend, and pay bump. You'll report directly to Alina. She looked at it, then back at him. You sure I'm the right person? You've already been doing the job. This just makes it official. She accepted it without another word. 2 weeks later, the audit results came in from Store 11's financial history. The theft went deeper than expected. Travis had siphoned nearly $28,000 over a 9-month period. Manipulated refunds, phony inventory losses, fake vendor charges. The accounting team confirmed his access had been removed from all systems and formal legal action was underway. Arthur authorized a statement to be sent to all staff company-wide. We will always protect the integrity of this company, and that includes protecting the people who keep it running. No names were mentioned. No drama. Just facts and consequences. At Store 11, things didn't become perfect overnight. The team still had rough days. Machines broke. Orders got backed up. But now, when something went wrong, they didn't freeze. They adjusted. A month later, Arthur made a quiet visit during a weekday lunch. He waited in line like any other customer, watched Piper direct a trainee at the register, saw Luis quietly correct a mislabeled container without a word, and noticed Daniel stepping in to help bag when the line got long.
No scouting. No tensión.
Just a team working forward. When Arthur reached the front, Piper looked up. Didn't expect to see you in line? He smiled. Didn't expect to be served this fast. She handed him a bag. Accurate, hot, and double-checked. Sounds like a standard. It is now. He stepped aside and took a seat near the window. As he opened the bag, he noticed a handwritten note tucked inside. It wasn't signed. Just 3 words, written in blue ink. Still watching right. Arthur folded the note and slid it into his pocket. Then he turned back to the window, watching the next customer step up to the counter, greeted by a team that no longer had to survive in silence.